major poets of this age, Alfred Lord Tennyson and Robert Browning, both are masters of dramatic monologues. Next, major poet Elizabeth Barrett Browning, Matthew Arnold, and going forward to minor poets, we discussed D.G. Rossetti, Christina Rossetti, William Morris, A.C. Swinburne. So these are the major poets of this Victorian age, and we studied important works of these poets in a detailed manner, I think. And in the previous class, we started prose writers of Victorian age. So among them, we have Thomas Carlyle. Thomas Carlyle, very famous writer, prose writer of this age. Next, we discussed John Ruskin. John Ruskin. Next, Lord Macaulay. These are the prose writers of this Victorian era. Mostly they concentrated on essays. Next, we started major novelists of this age. Major novelists. So among them, we started with Charles Dickens and stopped with George Eliot. Stopped with George Eliot in the previous class. So few more important authors, novelists we have. So with today's class, we'll complete this Victorian era. Mostly you concentrate who are the major poets and prose writers, novelists, and their important works and important works, characters, subtitles, and setting. All these you have to concentrate. So that is about Victorian period. So let us recall our previous class with a few questions. Please try to answer these. Okay, please try to answer the previously asked questions and most frequently asked questions. You just unmute yourself and respond, or otherwise use your chat box. Okay. Okay. So are you ready, dear friends? Are you ready? The Palace of Art is the work by Alfred Lord Tennyson. Is it okay? Which is the protest against? Which is the protest against? Anyone? The famous slogan, the Palace of Art, as a poem by Lord Tennyson. which is the protest against the fashionable slogan. What is that slogan? Anybody? Please respond. Chat box. Use chat box otherwise. What is the slogan? The palace of art. In that only we have the answer. Art. So I think you are not revising. You are not revising, and you are actually. I think that you are not touching the book. I think you are not opening. You are not turning the pages of your notes, or you are not revising what you have written in your notes. Hmm? Okay. What is the subtitle of Locksley Hall? What is the subtitle of Locksley Hall?
60 years after, sir.
Very good, sir. Very good. Uppula Srinivas sir gave right answer. The previous question answer, art for art's sake. Very good, sir. And so Robert Browning used famous personalities, famous historical personalities as his subject for writing his dramatic monologues. Is it okay? So, among those, Sardello was one of the historical personality. Who was Sardello? Who was Sardello?
Italian poets.
Italian poet. Very good answer. Italian poet. Right. Very good. So, what is the subtitle of Andrea del Sarto? What is the subtitle of Andrea del Sarto?
The faultless
Faultless
painter,
painter.
sir. Painter.
Yeah, very good. The faultless painter.
Painter.
Oh, lyric love, half angel, half bird is the work, is the famous poem by. Oh, lyric love, half angel, half bird is the famous poem by
Robert Browning.
Robert Browning. Very good answer. So, who defined poetry as the criticism of life?
Matthew Arnold.
Matthew
Matthew
Arnold.
Arnold.
Okay. So, one of Dickens' novels start with the famous line, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times.
Charles Dickens.
A tale of two cities.
Yes,
Very good
yes,
answer.
sir. Electricity.
A study of provincial life is the subtitle of. A study of provincial life is the subtitle of. A study of provincial life is the subtitle of whose novels and its name. Please respond. Please respond, Srinivas sir. Try once again.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Srinivas sir. Try another one.
Okay, sir.
Not David Copperfield. It is George Eliot's work, A Study of Provincial Life is the subtitle of. George Eliot's work name you have to write, novel's name you have to write.
Adam Bede, sir.
No, sir. Try. No problem. Middlemarch is the right answer. Middlemarch is the right answer. Okay. Memorial verses is the lament for three famous poets. Memorial verses is a lament for three famous poets. Who are they? Memorial verses. A work by Robert Browning. Robert Browning's lament for three poets
Wordsworth,
is Memorial
Goethe,
verses.
Wordsworth,
Wordsworth,
Goethe,
Goethe.
Byron.
Yes, very good, sir. Very good. So, in that way, you have to concentrate more on the works of every author. Briefly, just you remember the names of the poets, particularly names of the prose writers, and you just make a note of a sheet. On that sheet, you write authors' names and their important works. You paste them on your wall so that you frequently see that poster and will be useful in your examination. For long memory, it will be very useful. So, in that way, we can ask many questions, but we will start next one. So, in today's class, we discuss a few more authors regarding novelists of Victorian era. So, Meredith, George Meredith. So, the founder of a psychological novel. The psychological novel started in the Victorian era only. So, lyrical comic novel is the founder of lyrical comical novel, and considered as grand old man of English literature. It is given there. So his famous work is The Egoist. So best known work, a comic work. So in this, it is a story of Sir Willoughby Patterney oscillated between sentimental two characters we have, Laetitia Dale and strange-willed Clara Middleton. These two are the two heroines of this novel. So this is the Egoist. Just a title and principal character you remember. That's enough. Next, the ordeal of Richard Feverel, The Ordeal of Richard Feverel. So this is the important work, Ordeal of Richard Feverel. So what is the speciality of this novel? It is a history of father and son is the subtitle for this. A history of, underline, please underline. A history of father and son is the earliest full-length novel. It is the subtitle, and its subject is, it is against the education system. This novel is against the education system. Its theme is inability of the system of education to control human passions. So it is a completely bold novel. Actually, one more point you have to write. The previous net question was asked. It was banned. It was banned by leading libraries. It was banned by leading libraries in England. Okay, due to excessive explanation, passions, desires of human beings, male desires, sexual desires are boldly presented in this novel. That's why this novel was banned. So previously, this question was asked in net. So please note that point. This novel was banned by leading libraries in England. Okay. So this is the point. You have to note it down. Next, The Adventures of Harry Richmond. It's one more work. It has a little prominence. Just you remember the name, that is enough. So Modern Love is the important work, a collection of 50 sonnets. During the discussion of sonnets, our Keshav sir discussed this one. Modern Love, a collection of 50 sonnets about the decline of his own unhappy marriage. It is a explanation of description of his unhappy marriage with the daughter of Thomas Love Peacock, another poet, another critic also. So we will discuss in the next classes. Thomas Love Peacock. What is the speciality of these sonnets? 16-line sonnets about the failure of a marriage, an episodic verse, and it is described as novella in verse. What is novella? Novella. It is smaller than a novel and greater than a short story. So, a mini-sized novel is called as a novella. Okay, a novella in verse. So, earlier working title for this sequence were the love match and the tragedy of modern love. Okay, so this is about George Meredith. George Meredith. So remember this. Important banned work also we have. Controversial novels are asked sometimes. Controversial novels. Controversial movies are very successful sometimes. So in that way, controversial novels you remember. So questions may be asked from that area. Okay. Next, Wilkie Collins. Wilkie Collins, novelist, playwright, friend of Dickens, sometimes called as a grandfather of English detective fiction. English detective fiction also started here. Okay. So in this in his works we have the Women in White. The Women in White, a sensational and gothic novel. Gothic novel, it's like a haunted memories, haunted thoughts, Gothic novel. We have a special topic for that. The origin of Gothic novels and important authors of Gothic novels at the end of the Romantic period. We will discuss there. Just you remember Gothic novel. This is The Women in White. Next, it is considered as the first mystery novel. It is a story of an art teacher, Walter Hartwright. So he meets here some brief summary is given. You just remember uh, the protagonist's name. That is enough. Okay. So otherwise, if you want to sensational novel set in London and next here considered as the first detective novel. This is. It was set in London and Seringamapatnam of India. You remember this several times. This Seringamapatnam, the novel was set in. This type question was asked. So you remember it was set in London and Seringamapatnam. So considered as the first detective novel uh, of a Moonstone means just like Kohinoor diamond type story. So that you remember. This is these two are the important works of Wilkie Collins. Okay, so you remember names and setting. That much is enough for you. Okay. Next, Benjamin Disraeli. Benjamin Disraeli. Once Benjamin Disraeli, once the British Prime Minister, the British Prime Minister. He was the British Prime Minister and also author. That you remember. So his works are Vivian Grey. Vivian Grey. So his first novel, it follows its eponymous hero from childhood through his attempt to success in the world of politics. So so Vivian Grey, that much is enough for you. Next, trilogy. So Young England trilogy. In that we have three works: the Coningsby or the New Generation. It's a political novel. Sibyl or the Two Nations. This is important. Sibyl or the Two Nations is the important work. So it is about the plight of the working class of England. So this is Sibyl. Next, Tancred or the New Crusade. Tancred or the New Crusade. It is the third novel. Trilogy is nothing but a collection of three novels. Okay, this is uh, here one more point you have to be noted. Venetia is the another work by Benjamin Disraeli. That you note it down, please. Vinetia. Vinetia. It is the story of two protagonists. It is the story of two protagonists. Those are Marmion Herbart, and Lord Cadrusis. Lord Cadrusis. Lord Cadrusis. Cadurcis. Cadurcis. So what is the importance of this one? So why I am dictating this one? You once again please note it down. The story of two protagonists, Marmy and Herbert. This character, this protagonist, is modeled on P.B. Shelley. P.B. Shelley. Marmy and Herbert is modeled on P.B. Shelley, and Lord Cadrusis is modeled on Lord Byron. Lord Byron. It has the connection of the romantic poets. That's why it is important. This type of questions are important. So you please note it down and remember this one as MSCB. MSCB. MS means Marmion Shelley. Marmion Herbert Shelley. Cadrus is modeled on Byron. CB. MSCB. That is enough to remember this. Okay. This is about Benjamin Disraeli. Next, Charles Kingsley. Charles Kingsley. So, a novelist, historian, and a student of Thomas Carlyle. Okay. So, one work, his work, first work is The Saint's Tragedy. The Saint's Tragedy, Life of Saint Elizabeth. That you please note it down. The Saint's Tragedy, Life of Saint Elizabeth. Okay. Next, Yeast Problem. Problems of agriculture labors. Okay. Next, Alton Locke. Important work. Alton Locke. Put one star. Alton Locke. So, reforming novel. Story of London Taylor and poet Locke. Poet Locke. Alton Locke. Okay. Next, Hypatia or new force with an old face. Foe means, what is the meaning of foe? Foe means enemy.
Enemy.
Foe means enemy. So its subtitle is important. Hypatia or new force with an old face. You put two stars here. This is several times asked. Okay. Very, very important. Next, water babies. Water babies. So mothers read this at the bedtime for their children. So favorite of Queen Victoria, actually written for his son, a young chimney sweeper. In this baby water babies, a young chimney sweeper, Tom runs away from brutal employer, falls into river and transformed into water baby, loves Ellie and united at the end. This is the story of this feministic quote. This is okay. Blank screen. Keshav, blank screen appearing.
Is it everybody? Is it the same for
One
everyone or for
follow.
only for few?
Okay, okay, okay.
Just please visible, okay, Swapna.
Sensational novels. It is the subgenre of Victorian novels. Took the horror from Gothic fiction and incorporated it with domestic settings. Sensational novels is a combination of domestic setting and Gothic fiction, two combination. Uh, so instead of castles, they took country estates and land houses. So this is the setting of sensational novels. So mostly in Gothic novels we find castles, but whereas in sensational novels we find the settings only in the country estates and land houses. This is about sensational novels. So it was started in the Victorian era only. Psychological novels, detective fiction, and sensational novels. All these are originated in this era only. Next, R.L. Stevenson. R.L. Stevenson, Robert Louis Balfour Stevenson. So actually, he is a travel writer. He is a travel writer. So Scottish novelist, essayist, and also travel writer and poet, well known for his short story "How to Live to Be 200." How to Live to Be 200. It is a satire on health mania with Higgins as the main character. With Higgins as the main character, its theme is health mania. Health mania. So the title is How to Live to Be 200. So that you remember. So Treasure Island. So important work of R.L. Stevenson. So Treasure Island. It's a tale of buccaneers or pirates buried gold in an island. Its influence is enormous on popular perceptions of pirates, including such elements as treasure maps marked with an X. All these uh, brief summary is given. You just R.L. Stevenson Treasure Island is important, and Kidnapped. Its subtitle is very lengthy. So being memoirs of the adventures of David Balfour, okay, in the year 1751. Actually, its publication is 1886. So the year 1751's event is taken and or written this a novel. That is the importance of this kidnapped novel. So it is a story of 17-year-old David Balfour. So in that way, you remember. Okay. Next, Catriona is the sequel to Kidnapped. Actually, you write one point here. It is Balfour's love affair with Catriona Drummond. Drummond. It is Balfour's love affair. So, okay. This is about Catriona. Next part is a strange case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. This is the doubling, character doubling novel. This is. So, Dr. Jekyll is a physician, discovers a drug to separate his evil thoughts and creates a doubling character, Mr. Hyde. Mr. Hyde is created by Dr. Jekyll only. Mr. Hyde commits a murder. So, Utterson John investigates the case and arrests Jekyll. The phrase Jekyll and Hyde came to mean a person who has a split personality. Split personality. Okay. So in that way, this is a doubling you remember. So these 4 are the important works of R.L. Stevenson. Treasure Island, Kidnapped. Mostly Treasure Island is asked several times. And Strange Case of Mr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Several times this question was asked. It is a Gothic novella. It is a Gothic novella. You just note it down. Next, we have Mrs. Elizabeth Gaskell. So, a social novelist, Elizabeth Gaskell, a short story writer. So, her important works are Mary Burton. Mary Burton, its a subtitle is important. A Tale of Manchester Life. A Tale of Manchester Life. It is a important work of Elizabeth Gaskell. So you remember this. Actually, among this social novelist Elizabeth Gaskell's works are important. 2-3 works are there. So among very important work is a life of Charles Bronte. The life of Charles Bronte biography. This was asked several times. Number 7 you see once. Okay. Second one is Cranford, her masterpiece. This is okay. Cranford, a village story. A village story. You remember this. That is enough. Next, Sylvia's Lover. Sylvia's Lover. It is also important historical novel. This is Ruth, 1853. Ruth Hilton, a 15-year-old orphan. This is seduced by wealthy Henry. All this brief summary is given once you go through it. Next, North and South is an important work. North and South, Margaret Hale, the heroine who is sensitive, intelligent, and shocked by the world, which seems as if commerce were everything and humanity nothing. This is the famous statement. Okay. Everything is business, then humanity will be nothing. The meaning of that one. Next, Wives and Daughters. Wives and Daughters. It is an unfinished work by Mary Elizabeth Gaskell. Elizabeth Gaskell. Okay. This is the very important work, but unfinished. The life of Charles Bronte. Several times asked this one. You just note it down. Life of Charles Bronte. Life of Charles Bronte. A biography written by Elizabeth Gaskell. So very important work. Next, Samuel Butler. Samuel Butler. So he is known as a literary bad boy of Victorians. Literary bad boy of Victorians period. And one more bad boy we have in romantic era, Lord Byron. Not bad boy, most typical character. Lord Byron, because he criticized his own contemporaries. So that's why he is known as a romantic paradox. Romantic paradox. Here, Samuel Butler, the literary bad boy of Victorians. And another Samuel Butler we have who wrote Hudibras. Hudibras. That point also you write in order to avoid confusion. Two Samuel Butlers we have in English literature. So 17th century, in 17th century we have Samuel Butler, who was famous with his work Hudibras. Hudibras. Okay, but Samuel Butler of Victorian period wrote a few important works. One of them is Erewhon or Over the Range. It is anagram of nowhere. Anagram is nothing but jumbled letters form another word. So, for example, silent we have. If we jumble them, we will get the word listen. Silent, listen. So, in that way, anagram of nowhere is Erewhon. So, this is the name of the novel by Samuel Butler of Victorian period. Okay, so in this we have two characters. Those also anagram for Mary and anagram for Grundy. Okay, so are given here. One point is important here. The named it is it has the connection with Thomas Morton's character, Grundy character in the work Speed the Plow. Speed the Plow. This Grundy character is named after because it is there in Speed the Plow work of Thomas Morton. Okay. Next, this is the novel which often compared to Gulliver's Travel. Often compared to Gulliver's Travel. That is the important point. You please underline it. Okay. Next, the way of all flesh. The way of all flesh is the important work. Several times it was asked in examinations. So, semi-autobiographical story is narrated about it is the four generations of Pontifex family. Four generation story. This is point is important. Four generation story is the way of all flesh. That point is very important. Okay. Next, Charles Lutwidge Dodge's son, known as Lewis Carroll. So that is also important. Lewis Carroll also a very important fiction writer of this Victorian period. Next, his works are Alice in Wonderland, a fantasy story, fairy tale type story about a girl falling through a rabbit hole into a fantasy world. Alice in Wonderland. Okay, remember that. Through the Looking Glass, sequel to Alice in Wonderland. Alice climbs through a mirror into a new world. So, in that way, Jabberwocky is important. So, nonsense poems means meaningless poems about killing of an insect. This is important, asked many times. Okay. Next, Coventry Patmore. Very important. Only one work, that is Angel in the House, is a poem about Victorian ideal feminist modeled on his wife. So, in which we have a famous line: a woman is a foreign land. A woman is a foreign land. This appears in Room of One's Own of Virginia Woolf. This point is important. Okay. Okay. Next, Bronte sisters. Anne Bronte, Charlotte Bronte, and Emily Bronte, popularly known as three sisters, Bronte sisters. These are they have they had the pseudonyms Currer Bell, Ellis Bell, and Octon Bell. Okay, so veiled the sister sex while preserving their initials. So, in order to publish their novels, they changed their pen names. So that's why Bronte sisters pseudonyms also you remember, very important. Currer Bell, Ellis Bell, and Octon Bell. Currer means Charlotte Bronte. C starts with C, so Currer Bell. So Emily Bronte, Ellis Bell. Acton Bell, Acton Bell, Anne Bronte. Okay, in that way, first letter you remember. It is very important. Okay. Next, Charlotte Bronte, very important author of this age. Her pen name is Currer Bell. She died with complications of pregnancy, which caused excessive nausea and vomiting. Elizabeth Gaskell's biography, uh, The Life of Charlotte Bronte, was published in 1857. 1857. Okay. So her works are The Professor, A Tale, 1857. So first work. Here important work is Jane Eyre, very important work. This is Jane Eyre, autobiographical based on her own life. Bildungsroman, growth of the author we discussed in the previous class, and it describes 5 distinct stages of her life linked to 5 different places. So the novel is set in wild Sargasso Sea. Charlotte wrote about the protagonist of the novel. I will show you a heroine as plain and as small as myself. So this represents autobiographical connection. So some short biography is given. You just understand it. The Mad Woman in the Attic, a famous book on feminist criticism, was written by Sandra Gilbert and Susan Goober. They draw the title from Charlotte Bronte's Jane Eyre, in which Rochester's wife, Bertha Manson, Bertha Mason, is kept secretly locked in an attic apartment by her husband. So this point is Bertha Mason is a important character. Okay, Rochester's wife, she is okay. Next, in with this novel, we have two connections. What is that? Is one is Mad Woman in the Attic, a famous criticism novel, feminist criticism novel. Next, Wide Sargasso Sea is a modern novel, postmodern novel by Dominican British author Jean Rice. The novel serves as a post-colonial and feminist prequel to Charles Bronte's novel Jane Eyre, describing the background to Mr. Rochester's marriage from the point of view of his wife. Okay. Uh, Antoinette Causeway, a Creole heiress. The word Creole meaning we will learn in post-colonial literature. Uh, so, Mad Woman in the Attic, uh, Antoinette's story is told from the time of her youth in Jamaica to her unhappy marriage to an English gentleman, Mr. Rochester, who renames her Bertha, declares her mad, takes her to England and isolates her from the rest of the world in the mansion. Okay, this is the wild Sargassy. Just you remember these two works with Jane Eyre. Okay, and author's name, that much is enough. Okay, Shirley, a tale set in Yorkshire. Robert Gerard Murray is half Belgium, half England by birth. Okay, the character's description is given here. Villetti is about her experiences in Brussels. It is centered on pupil-teacher relationship. Pupil-teacher relationship. Okay, so this is about Charlotte Bronte. Charlotte Bronte's works are very, very important. So Yorkshire Moor. One point you write, please. Yorkshire Moors is a place related to works of Bronte sisters. Yorkshire Moor. Yorkshire Moors is the place related to the works of Bronte sisters. This point is important. Next, Emily Bronte's work, only important work is Wuthering Heights. So her pen name already we know, Ellis Bell. Her only novel, Gothic Romanticism, set in Yorkshire moorland, narrated by Lockwood, a gentleman in London. So it is a tragic love story of Heathcliff, an orphan who became landlord as a young boy. He was raised by Mr. Earnshaw, owned by. This is the brief story of brief summary of that Wuthering Heights. The important character Heathcliff. Several of the previous question, Heathcliff is the uh, character in which of the following novels? In that way, one question asked. So Acton Bell, Agnes Grey is her work. So that is important. One point, please note it down. The imaginary world created by Emily and Anne Bronte is Gondal. Gondal. This question, net question. So Gondal, you write Gondal. Gondal. The imaginary world created by Emily and Anne Bronte. Okay, so that is the important work. Important point to be noted down. Okay. Please note a few more important 2-3 authors are there. Please note them down. George Gissing. George Gissing, a novelist. So his work is New Grub Street. New Grub Street. New Grub, Grub, Grub Street, his best known work about a dilemma of a poverty-stricken artist in the alien world. It is a poverty strike. It is about dilemmas of poverty-stricken artist. New Grub Street. New Grub Street. Okay, George Gissing. Next question. This is okay. Missing point, that is. Next. Please wait. Edward Fitzgerald. Edward Fitzgerald. Please note it down. Edward Fitzgerald, Tennyson's closest friend. His time period was 1809 to 1883. 1809 to 1883. So Tennyson's closest friend. Tennyson's closest friend. An important point, he is best known for the most famous English translation, Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyum. Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyum. Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyum. So important work. This is famous translation. Famous translation by Edward Fitzgerald. Edward Fitzgerald. Okay. This is important. Oh, next. Oscar Wilde is there in the beginning pages. Okay, Oscar Wilde, page number 139. That as it was the demo class, we skipped this and jumped to Tennyson. So that is important. Picture of Dorian Gray, a philosophical novel. So Oscar Fingal Flaherty Willis, Wilde, Irish playwright and best most memorable writer of this aesthetic movement. So picture of Dorian Gray, so philosophical novel. All art is quite useless. He disliked 19th century realism and said, Caliban, this you will get in uh, criticism. Okay, just remember that. Next, Lady Windermere's Fan, a play about good women. So 4-act comedy. Next, Salome, a play. Importance, a woman of no importance. Comedy, a woman of no importance. Is a comedy play in 4 acts. Comedy play in 4 acts. And an ideal husband. An ideal husband, a comedy play. The importance of being earnest, a trivial comedy for serious people. This is the Astachamma movie. Exactly the story Astachamma. Have you watched that movie? So if you watch, you will clearly understand this.
Yes.
There you
What
will,
is it?
in the titles, you will find this Oscar Wilde's name in the titles of this movie. You will get Oscar Wilde's name because it is a base for that movie. So these are the important works of Oscar Wilde. Next, Walter Pater, Walter Horatio Pater, uh, essayist and critic. Essayist and critic. Studies in the history of the Renaissance. So series of essays. Oscar Wilde called it as a golden book. He renamed in the second and later edition the Renaissance. Studies in art and poetry, treated as it is treated as manifesto of aestheticism. Already we discussed this Renaissance. Its a subtitle also important, studies in art and poetry. Okay. 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 So with this, we completed almost, I'm sure, 95%, not 100%, because literature is quite different to other subjects when we compare to. So most of the uh, topics on the authors, famous authors, minor authors, and important works are discussed in the Victorian era. So once some MCQs are here, so let us once have a glance over these 20 questions we have. Please, without seeing answers, try to answer them in your chat box. So first one, the Act of 1843 represents monopoly of two theatres. The monopoly was broken and the theatres came into existence. Okay. So what were the theatres? What were the theatres? 1, 2, 3, 4 theatres are the Globe, Covent Garden, Drury Lane, the Rose. So 2, 3, right answer, right answer. Very good. The conflict between two worlds, science and religion, was described by wandering between two worlds. Wandering between two worlds. One is dead, the other one powerless to be born, as the quote by. Second question. Wandering between two worlds. Wandering between two worlds. Wandering between two worlds. Please think over it. Arnold. Very good answer. Next, Apologia Pro Vita Sua is the autobiographical work by Oxford Movement, related to Oxford Movement. Related to Oxford Movement. Who are they? Who is he? Sorry. Nobody is typing. Please respond. Apologia Pro Vita Sua. Henry Newman is the right answer. Very good. Henry Newman. Which of these movements is not related to Victorian era? Aesthetic movement, Oxford movement, Pre-Raphaelite movement, Dadaism. Dadaism. Yes, Dadaism, right answer. It is easily distracted, easily eliminated. Okay.
Yes.
Who coined the term Victorian compromise? Who coined the term Victorian compromise? Please.
Chesterton.
Victorian compromise.
Chesterton,
Victorian
sir.
compromise. Chesterton. Very good answer.
Yes.
It is better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. Is from Tennyson's. Please.
In memoriam, sir.
In memoriam is the right answer. But here in answers it is given mistake is given. So you please correct it. Instead of D, you put C there. If you have it, no problem. Otherwise, the old order changed. Yielding place to new, and God fulfills himself in many ways. So it is
Yes. No, yeah.
seventh question. Morte de Arthur. So remember it. Ulysses is a ballad, sonnet, dramatic monologue, elegy. Ulysses, dramatic monologue. C is the right answer.
Yes.
The
Dramatic
following is
monologue.
a tribute to Shelley by Browning. The following following poem is following dramatic monologue is a tribute to Shelley by Browning. Tribute to Shelley, Pauline is the right answer. Very good. Last poem
Problem.
by Tennyson. Last poem by Tennyson in which he anticipated his death, having refrain, all is well that ends well. All is well that ends well. All is well that ends well.
Break.
The Dreamer. Right answer. Next, 11th one you match. This Muleki is the horse of an Arab. That point we did not mention that one. Muleki is the horse of an Arab. That also one poem is there. Okay. Next, Opt Vogler is a musician. Opt Vogler is a musician.
Yeah.
Fra Lippo Lippi is a painter. Grammarian is a physician. So that you match them. In Andrea del Sarto, which painter does he compare and what does he find lacking himself? 12th one, he
Raphael.
compared Raphael
Raphael.
with he lack soul, lack of soul.
So,
Okay, the number of sonnets in sonnets from Portuguese. Actually, who wrote these sonnets from Portuguese?
Robert Browning.
Sir, sonnets
Robert
from
Browning, sir.
Portuguese. Huh? Sonnets from Portuguese, sir.
Elizabeth.
Elizabeth EBB, Elizabeth Barrett Browning. EBB. Okay. So number of sonnets. Number of sonnets in that sequence, series. Yes. 44 sonnets are there. Okay. So among those we discussed 43rd. How do I love thee? Okay. Which of Arnold's work is known as 19th century wasteland? Which of Arnold's work is known as 19th century wasteland? Dover Beach. Good answer. In Blessed Damozel, she had dash lilies. You put one blank there. Dash lilies in her hand and dash stars in her hair. Three lilies and seven stars. Three lilies and seven stars. Songs Before Sunrise is a collection of poems by. Okay. Please respond. Songs Before Sunrise. Songs Before Sunrise. Edward Fitzgerald is not at all our answer because Rubaiyats of Omar Khayyam is the only translation from this one, from him. Okay, so we can cut. Christina Rossetti's only work, recognizable work, is Goblin Market. This also we can strike. William Morris, important works, Earthly Paradise. So Swinburne is the right answer. Swinburne is the right answer. Next, the Paris Boys Progress is the subtitle of. Paris Boys Progress is the subtitle of.
Nicholas Nickleby.
No, sir. It is the Oliver Twist.
Oliver Twist.
Oliver Twist. No problem, sir. Please. No problem.
Okay, sir.
Dickens'
Oliver Twist.
only novel with female narrator is. Only novel with female narrator is.
Bleak House.
Bleak House is the right answer. Very good. Good response from your side. So George Eliot's novel about an unmarried girl accused of murdering her infant child. Already we discussed Rectangular Love.
Silas Marner.
Adam Bede.
Adam Bede.
Adam Beatty. Okay, right. Rectangular Love. The life of Charlotte Bronte was written by. Life of Charlotte Bronte was written by. So I will post one quiz tomorrow or day after tomorrow on Victorian period, Victorian age. Please all of you participate in that assignment. You please complete that assignment and check your progress so that some kind of self motivation you will get. If you are somewhat average, you will try to improve. If you are far behind, you will try to reach others. In that way, you check individually, you answer. Okay, this is a kind of assignment, weekly assignment. So this is about Victorian period. So any points, if any point is missing, or if you search for a question, if you search in previous question papers or somewhere, net question papers or set question papers, any kind of question which is related to Victorian period, you please post, you please ask whether this question's answer is what is the explanation for this. In that way, you can ask us. You can post me in my WhatsApp group, in our WhatsApp group, so that other friends also learn from your efforts. So that will be very helpful for others also. So share your knowledge. That is our motto. Please share your knowledge. Whatever you study, whatever every time we find a new point, please include in your notes. In that way, it will become an encyclopedia of English literature. So that will help you a lot. And for your students, if you become a lecturer or something, you can share your knowledge. Okay, that is about today's class. So something is there, but I want to start a new chapter.